Iowa State's made it very clear. They're going to win games in the trenches, both offensively and defensively. But with so many transfers, it's fair for people to be skeptical of these groups. I, however, think they're going to be great.
You are Locked On Cyclones, your daily podcast on the Iowa State Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Nick Marovets, and today we're going into the trenches. All right, we're talking offense, we're talking defense, but we're talking about the lines specifically. And at the end of today's show, we are going to talk about the captains. All right, we're not going to skip over that, but for the first two segments, we're going to focus in on the offensive line and then the defensive line, because we've talked about how important these two groups are for Jimmy Rogers in his first year as a head coach. We've talked about his recruiting. We've talked about the transfer portal. We talked about yada, 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 so much. But we haven't really talked about specifics. We haven't really gotten into like confidence scores. I've kind of said like, oh, I feel this way about the offensive line. No, I kind of feel like this about the defensive line. I've got numbers for you, and I've got specific quotes and comments from offensive line coach Jake Thornton and defensive line coach Jalen Bibbs. So buckle up. It's going to be a very fun show. A little bit less flashy, maybe, than like your show about the wide receivers, right? Your show about the running backs, your show about maybe the secondary or the linebackers. No one wants to look at the offensive defensive line and think, oh yeah, this is going to be electric. Like it's just not the same conversation. So let's all get prepared for what exactly today's show is going to look like. And we're going to start with the offensive line. I will be very upfront and say that up until this point, I haven't really been on the offensive line train. Now, that's not to say I've been out on them. Okay, let's be very clear. But I haven't really seen a lot to bolster my hopes. There's been, you got some transfers for sure. But I've been very vocal about the fact that when it comes to offensive line, you could have the 5 best offensive linemen in the country. But if the quarterback's not telling them what to do, or if they're not on the same page, they're going to look terrible. They just are. And sometimes it's not on the quarterback. Sometimes it is truly just on the offensive line. Like, there's just so much that goes into a group that it's very tough to be able to tell early on. So I've been kind of apprehensive to take a side. When it comes to the offense as a whole, right, I feel pretty good about the quarterback. Feel really good about Jalen Raynor. We'll talk more about him in the third segment, right? Feel pretty good about the running back position, right? We've got kind of our top 2 guys. We've got guys in behind them that sounds like they're going to be able to fill out the role. I'm very excited about that. Wide receiver was a question mark for sure. And tight end, I don't know what to expect from them. I don't think my concerns are as high when it comes to them. But I at least had a feeling on all of those groups, those 4 major groups. For the offensive line, it was, I hope they're good. I don't know what to expect from these guys. But now we have comments from offensive line coach Jake Thornton. And I got to say, my confidence score has, I guess, surfaced, has become a thing. It's higher than I thought it was going to be as well. I'm going to put the offensive line confidence score right now at about a 7, maybe a 7.5. Why? Let me get to the comments Jake Thornton made. Coach Jake Thornton, that is. First off, you can tell in his accent, he's probably a pretty good coach. I don't know. It's just something about the way that he speaks. When asked about, what the group's doing well and what they need to do moving forward, very much immediate answer. So it's hard to really get a lot out of that. But he said, basically, they've gotten better and they need to continue to get better. Now, if you watch the video yourself, the interview or media availability, that's not all he says. He says a lot of other things. He does. And you'll probably see people that write up and talk about these comments that he makes. It's not a long answer, but it's not a short answer. They're probably going to talk about these specific little things and these things. Look, the way that it comes across to me, like, I'm the only one, unfortunately, in this room. I'd love to have other opinions here, but my opinion is that he effectively said they've gotten better and they need to get better. Pretty cut and dry, pretty simple. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think just about every position group's probably gotten better and does need to get better. There's always room for improvement, and I'm assuming, unless they've gotten worse, most groups have gotten better because it's pretty rare you stay the exact same, right? So I didn't really get a whole lot out of that. I'm going to be honest. But there was a few comments toward the middle and end of Jake Thornton's media availability that really spoke to me. For one, it's just a one-liner. He said, "We want to be consistently good. Occasionally great will get you beat." And I think he just said it like it's just like something that bounces around inside his skull. If you've ever been an athlete, you know coaches that are this way, and if you are a coach, you probably are this way without even knowing it. There's just mantras that you just kind of say, like they just come out consistently, whether you want him to or not. And you have so many logged up in your brain, or if you're an athlete, you've seen so many come out of your coach's mouth that it's just as soon as the situation arises, it's like not even a thought. Like the mantra just comes out. And I think for Jake Thornton, it was, we want to be consistently good, occasionally great will get you beat, something along those lines. He didn't even really think much of it, but I like the mentality here. Some might think, well, they don't want to be great. Of course, being consistently great is better than being consistently good. But being consistently good means you're never really, in theory, right? This is all in theory, hypothetically, never going to have a down play, a bad play. I've been very vocal when it comes to the defense that sacks are going to be huge for this defense for the reason that they make a huge impact on a drive. If Iowa State's line is occasionally great, it's hard to be great on a pass play. Like you could just give your quarterback all day long, and that's awesome, and it does help. But how much impact does that really make? You can be great in the run game for sure. You can really open up some really large run lanes, right? You can do that. You can have those plays. But if you give up sacks on pass plays, if you're letting, if you're giving up tackles for loss on a run play, like something's wrong. Something is not right. It should at least be a no gain on most every run, unless it's like some sort of weird jet sweep or something along the lines where the line isn't really able to get out in front. So, my point here ultimately is that I do agree with Jake Thornton in the fact that occasionally great, your gains are never quite as much as your losses. It hurts so much worse to take a sack. It hurts so much worse to take, a 4-yard loss on a run play. It was power strong. How'd they get back there that fast? Like it hurts more than the massive great plays that you'll see from the offensive line as opposed to consistently good. Okay. Maybe we didn't give up a 4-yard loss. We might not have rushed for 15 yards, but we got 4 or 5. You're on schedule. When you're talking about the pass game, I mean, he didn't have 35 years to throw the ball, but he had long enough to make the throw. We didn't give up a sack. Consistently good. I really like that. He did talk about Jake Taylor, and I'm probably going to bring that more up in the third segment, so I'll come back to that because, spoiler alert, we have an offensive lineman as a captain, and that is huge, very much huge. So we're coming back to that. But the last thing I want to talk on here is the mentality of this offensive line when it comes to the I formation as opposed to the shotgun. He talked about, they're going to always be, I guess, just inherent mechanical advantages of the I formation for the offensive line, the ability to get off the ball fast, just because the cadence is right there. Also, like the ability to kind of disguise the run when you're in an eye, that running back is right behind the quarterback, doesn't really give too much away as to where they're going. I know that, there's like a lot of nuances to this, but what I'm saying is there are just inherent mechanical advantages to the formation that help the offensive lineman. He talked about that a little bit, but more than that, he talked about this I formation, everybody knows, is a very old school mentality. Line them up, knock them down, push them over. Physical. We are tougher than you. Those are all it's all synonymous. I formation. It's awesome. I grew up playing fullback at the I formation. Probably can't believe it now, but times were different back in YSF, I love the I formation too. It's very tough. And that mentality, he said it matches this line very well. And that right there, honestly, I probably should have led with that because that was the biggest indicator of where this offensive line is at. This is a very tough-minded, hard-nosed offensive line. I don't know exactly what we're getting skill-wise. I don't know what the left tackle looks like. He talked about versatility. He talked about the ability to switch these guys around. Look, all of that's great. I could talk about the offensive line forever. We're going to switch over to the defensive line. The biggest thing that I caught from this, I'm switching my answer to the fact that they love the I formation because it matches their personalities. Then you get to the consistently good thing. I love that. I think that's perfect. Just go out there, do your job. That's always kind of been a thing that I've, resonated with. I think this offensive line could be very good for Iowa State. One of the areas I had a question mark on, and if they can click, if they can figure it out, the offense as a whole is going to be pretty good. And if the offense as a whole is pretty good, we're going to be in a lot of games. Why? Because the defense is, I'm getting worked up. This defense is going to be absolutely incredible, and it all starts with the defensive line. We're going to talk about how confident I am in them coming up right here after this. But first, a word from our friends over at FanDuel. Locked On Cyclones is brought to you by FanDuel. And baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep. Now you get the chance to make your prediction before first pitch. College football's in a few weeks. Yeah, we're close. Yes, Iowa State will be playing against Southeast Missouri State soon. But in the meantime, it's all about baseball right now. Red Sox really figured it out last night. Big fan of that. Home runs are very much back in play for Boston. And of course, I'm rooting for them. So I'm a fan of that. So are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB. We are here in the trenches at Locked On Cyclones, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, talking about Iowa State's defensive line next. We just got done talking about the offensive line, and now we're switching over to the defensive side of the ball. I am going to try to stay calm. You heard me get a little bit worked up before I transitioned because this defense is going to be so good. And that is a bit of a teaser for how confident I am in this defensive line. I'll get to that in just a second. But first, I want to thank you for making this your first watch or listen of the day. And remind you can get your daily Cyclones fix completely ad-free by joining the Everydayer Club today. Start your 7-day free trial right now and get closer to your team without the interruptions. Click the link in the show notes or go to lockedoncyclones.supercast.com to claim your free trial. All right. When it comes to the defensive line, my confidence score is, I want to put it at 10. I'll just call it how it is. Okay. I will probably put it closer to a 9 just because it feels like I don't want to go out on a limb and say 10, but man, it feels like they have every piece to be a 10. Like they have I am so confident in this group. And that's really what I'm gauging here. It's not, how good are they going to be? My confidence level is a 10, I guess. I'm just going to go with it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I really feel like this group is going to be great. And when it comes to the comments by defensive line coach Jalen Bibbs, they only really solidified my stance on this group. When it comes to success for this unit, success looks like resetting the line of scrimmage. Now, is that answer success is getting a bunch of sacks? No, and I don't even think I would want that answer. But every time I hear a question and an answer like this, I just think of like, man, we don't really care about getting sacks. I don't know why. I should have chuckled. But nonetheless, resetting the line of scrimmage is exactly the right answer that I would want from a four-man front, and the kind of answer that I think can impact the game. Why is that? Well, on run plays, when you reset the line of scrimmage, tackling at the line of scrimmage is a negative play. You're at the very least, it's not a play that keeps the offense on time. At best, you're getting a tackle for loss just by moving the offensive line, which is absolutely a win. When it comes to pass plays, scrunching down that offensive line, collapsing the pocket, you don't have one guy making a move, beating the offensive lineman, and then you have a quarterback that's, whirling out or escaping the pocket or whatever, one-on-one makes a move. Because there are quarterbacks like that in the Big 12 that will, give Isaac Terrell an opportunity. He beats the offensive lineman, and then, I don't know, say it's Noah Fafita, right? Noah Fafita whips around, and now his legs are a big weapon to Arizona's offense, and it becomes a big play for Arizona on a play where Isaac Terrell beat the offensive lineman. That can happen. It can also go the other way, right? And obviously winning is good, but when you collapse that pocket, that offensive pocket, it really just scrunches that quarterback without giving him a lot of places to go. So I feel like resetting the line of scrimmage, massive win. I really like the way that Jalen Bibbs described that. But we're looking at a couple comments here that really boost my confidence in this group more than anything. For one, the versatility on the line. He talked about the ability of these guys to be interchangeable, take over different roles, switch to this position, switch to that position. I think this is a much bigger role for the defensive line than for the offensive line. Defensively, putting guys in different positions, confusing the offense is huge. For the offense, when you're switching offensive linemen around, yes, you've got some depth there then. You've got some possibilities for, like, if one guy goes down or needs a break, you can move guys around, but it's not consistent. And I feel like that's what you want from an offensive line more so than a defensive line, where you can kind of move guys around. You can just kind of put them anywhere and they just have to get to the ball or do their job. And it'll probably be confusing for the offense, which is ultimately a win for the defense. So feel like the versatility on the line is actually a really good thing, because when Jalen Bibbs, Coach Jalen Bibbs was talking about the sacks from last season, right? 14 sacks coming over from transfers, 7 of them coming from Isaac Terrell. He talked about it worked well because we lined them up all over the place. We're going to do that again this year. So that right there is talking about the versatility. He did go on to say that's a small dose of what this year is going to look like. A little bit of a vote of confidence. Talking about the sacks, small dose, 14, less than what this year potentially could look like. Hey, I'm not gonna harp on that comment anymore. Okay. Last thing I want to get to here is this Isaac Terrell character. Feels like he's kind of the guy for Iowa State. Like, have you ever seen a franchise for any sport ever that has the face of the franchise, but really has a guy that's kind of like battling for it? He just plays a position that's not really known for that. I'm trying to think of a good example, but honestly, the best thing I can think of is like maybe like JJ Watt, but he was the face of the Texans. And obviously a defensive lineman is one of the better examples of this. Maybe Von Miller, maybe when he was with the Bills, because Josh Allen was the face of the franchise, but Von Miller was like still kind of him. My point is, Jalen Raynor is probably going to be the face of Iowa State. He's probably going to be almost like the ambassador, almost like the face that's put up when Iowa State is put on the screen. But Isaac Terrell is going to be him. That's kind of how I'm viewing this. That's the way he's being talked about. And we haven't seen a play out yet, but Jalen Bibbs says that his motor is different, unlike anything he's ever seen. Still hasn't seen anything like it. Obviously still on the team. But a new team this year, and nobody's really matching it. Isaac Terrell does not have an off switch. He said he jokes, the person we've got to protect Isaac Terrell from is Isaac Terrell. I think they call him Bobby Terrell. But my point is, we may have kind of the dude on the defensive line. You want to talk about, does Iowa State have stars, or they don't have any stars? I think they do. I think Isaac Terrell just hasn't really gotten the national attention that people see him like as potentially a good player, but they don't see him as like, oh, he's going to make this team great. I think this defensive line is going to be awesome. I have a confidence level of 10. I think they're extremely deep. I think they've got guys that can move around. I think they got guys that can do it all. I think Isaac Terrell might be that guy that really elevates the defensive line. Comes away with, I predicted 10 sacks this season. I think it's very doable. So all in all, both of the lines have me feeling really good about this team, just in general. I think the offensive line is better than I thought it was going to be, at least right now. We'll see as we get into the games. And defensive line, look, I'm sold. All right. They're a 10 out of 10 on my confidence meter. I feel great about them. Each individual player, the unit as a whole, the coach, everything about it. But now we have to talk a little bit of a different topic here. We have to switch over to the captains for Iowa State. They've been announced. We've got 6 of them. What does this mean? We're talking about it right here after this. But first, a word from our friends over at Game Time. There are more live events than ever worth seeing right now. Games, concerts, comedy shows, festivals. The hard part usually isn't deciding what you want to attend. It's actually getting the tickets. Between long wait times, confusing checkout processes, and surprising fees, buying tickets can sometimes feel harder than it should. That's why so many fans are turning to Game Time. The app is built to make buying tickets simple with upfront pricing, seat views before you buy, and exclusive savings opportunities that help you get to the events you want without the usual hassle. I personally do not understand the map, okay? I just need to see my seat view, all right? And maybe that's just me, but Game Time makes it possible. I don't have to guess. What is it going to look like? Is this too far away? Am I too close? Am I paying the wrong price? Game Time helps with all of that. And obviously the seat view feature is the one that I'm talking about specifically, that I just can look at the picture and say, oh yeah, this is actually the view that I kind of want. Shout out Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to every type of event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. We're talking about the Iowa State Cyclone football captains here for this last segment of Locked On Cyclones. We got 6 of them to talk about, and we're going to talk about what I think this means for the team. This is, purely my opinion. If you disagree, you're probably right. We've got 6 of them to talk about, like I said. And let's just go ahead and dive right into it. Number 1, Aiden Flora, running back. That one made sense to me. That one just felt like it was perfect. I feel like he's going to make a massive impact this upcoming season. Feels like he was one of the better players from last season's team, chose to stay. Just a lot that goes into that. I feel like it makes a lot of sense. I am going left to right here on the Iowa State graphic. I'm not saying these in any order. Other than literally left to right as listed. Number 2, Jake Taylor, offensive lineman. We're going to come back to him because I think he might be one of the most telling ones. Number 3, or should I say number 1, based on his number, Jalen Raynor, quarterback. Made a lot of sense. I mean, every comment we have heard when it comes to Jalen Raynor is he is the best leader of all time. He's being put on watch lists for awards for leader. He is being talked about as, just otherworldly when it comes to leading a team. And if he wouldn't have been a captain, I would have honestly been probably concerned. Definitely shocked. So makes a lot of sense. Number 4. We're on number 4 here. Max Balloon, defensive lineman. Ooh. That tells me a lot about this defensive unit for sure. I'll come back to him because I want to pair it with our number 6 guy. But number 5, David Coffey, defensive back. I'm just feeling like he's going to have a great year. I know the name that I've been talking about more on the defensive unit has been Benny Ngoye, but I think the reason for that is I think he will make a step that we wanted to see previously. He's going to make a step that we thought we would have seen up until this point, and namely last season. But David Coffey, I think, really could be like a household name, so to speak, for this Iowa State defense. And at defensive back, they need a leader big time. Sounds like he's the man. Final captain. I'm going to say Isaac Terrell. All right, I don't know if it's Bobby Terrell. I don't know which to go with. But Isaac Terrell, defensive lineman. All right, let's go back to the front here. Let's skip back to the one I said I was going to return to, Jake Taylor. We've got 3 linemen in our captain's list. That tells me a lot. It's a good thing. Remember, these captains are voted on by the players. Offensive lineman getting voted a captain. Voted on by the players. These players, to my knowledge, are all college students, right? To my knowledge. College students love, flashy, big plays, okay? especially in today's day and age. An offensive lineman being voted a captain just speaks wonders to what Jake Taylor is to this team. And honestly, it speaks wonders to what this team is built of. Jake Taylor obviously is making a large name for himself. I said I'd come back to the comments about him from offensive line coach Jake Thornton. I'll do it right now. He said he's consistent day in and day out. His vocal leadership is very good. He owns up to a bad day, a bad rep, a bad practice. Makes a lot of sense. Those are all leadership qualities. I almost want to look at the team more so than Jake Taylor. Obviously, Jake Taylor doing great things, but the team has the maturity level to vote for, that level-headed, that leadership figure, as opposed to, all right, we're going to go running back, we're going to go quarterback, we're going to go wide receiver, and we're going to go defensive back. Like, those are the flashy names. Those are the guys that are going to have crazy stats. They're not necessarily like, they could be, but they're not necessarily the hard rocks of the team. They're the guys out there that are, they could be those guys, but your wide receivers, your quarterbacks are going to be the ones that have the headlines. They're going to be captain, quarterback so-and-so, 4,000 yards. Like, those are the kind of things you see tied to those positions, as opposed to an offensive lineman, which is largely known for giving up sacks, right? That's they always say offensive linemen aren't noticed until things are going wrong. So to vote for an offensive lineman tells me a lot about this team. It tells me a lot about who Jake Taylor is. Now, on the defensive side, it's not as cut and dry, because defensive linemen can certainly be game changers. I would say more than the offensive line is. And I know it's very hard to explain, right? Like, the offensive line can be a game changer, but it has to be consistently good, not occasionally great. Defensive linemen can be occasionally great and absolutely, in my opinion, take the headline. They can have a play here or there. I mean, I'm not saying that this would ever happen, but there could be a defensive lineman that has a bad game, but has one great snap at the end, a sack to seal the game. He's the hero. Now, everybody who's watching tape, anybody who's watching the whole game understands. But for headlines, who made the final sack? That's my point. So, but for Iowa State to have two defensive linemen voted in here, I think it speaks to the depth of that group. I think it speaks to what kind of impact that group can make. No other position group had two players voted in as captains. Two defensive linemen, one defensive back, one quarterback, one offensive lineman, one running back, right? 3 offense, 3 defense. 2 of the defensive players being on the defensive line tells me that this unit is going to cause problems. And yes, it could be from a talent standpoint, but also from the leadership point of view. Those are the guys out there that are working every day, pushing the team to get better. Iron sharpens iron, right? They talk about the motor that Isaac Terrell has, the leadership on the field to keep guys' chins up. I always think of, I believe it was the UCLA player, that kid missed a 3 or a free throw or something, walking down the court, had his head down, and I'll call him a veteran, but like an upperclassman came and actually pushed his chin up, like, keep your chin up. That's the kind of leadership that I think like this defensive lineman unit will display. And that goes a long way defensively, because on defense, you got to have a goldfish memory, right? You give up 50 yards, didn't happen. We're back to it, because this play is more important than the last, because it's the current one. You just made a crazy pass breakup on first down. You just dove, arm outstretched, almost picked it, but you certainly broke up the pass. Unbelievable play. Dude was absolutely beat you. Even leaving, he was gone. You made a crazy play to break it up. Well, better forget about it, because it's only second down. Defense has to have the goldfish memory. You've got the veteran leadership out there to, I believe, push Iowa State in that kind of direction of the mentality defense has to have. Look, I'm just very happy with this captain's list. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think every player on this captain's list has earned their spot, and it makes a lot of sense. It tells me a lot about the team, I guess, not why, but that these guys were voted into the positions they were. So overall, very excited about this team. As every day passes, as we get closer to September 5th, that first game, Every day I am more and more excited. And honestly, my hope for how great the season is going to be only grows. Like I really am getting to the point where they could go undefeated, but that's neither here nor there. That's all I've got for today. Make sure you hit subscribe down below. It's completely free. Until next time, Cyclone fans, sayonara.